in the mood.
I'm sorry, Miss Jackson.
I ain't tryna tell you what to do, but try to play it cool. Baby, I ain't playing by your rules.
I am for real.
Why you always in the mood?
I'm sorry, Miss Jackson.
I ain't tryna tell you what to do, but
Everything's cool.
baby, I ain't playing by your rules.
Never meant to make your daughter.
In the mood. Why you always in the mood?
Never meant to make. Yeah.
Sorry, Miss Jackson. I know I've been rude, but I miss the attraction. We a little toxic, but we got passion.
Yeah.
We a little toxic, and I got distracted. She showed a little ass, and I had to go cash in. Couldn't imagine sex out of this world, like we fucking on Saturn. If I'm on the ball, like I've been playing Madden, but she swallowed it all, and that's how it happened.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Ooh, but that's how I feel.
Never meant to make.
I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Ooh, but that's how I feel.
Forever, forever, ever, forever, ever. Forever never seems that long until you're grown. And notice that the day by day ruler can't be too wrong. Miss Jackson, my intentions were good. I wish I could.
I ain't tryna tell you what to do, but try to play it cool.
Thoughts of she, thoughts of he, asking what happened to the feeling that her and me had. So know this, know that everything's cool. And yes, I will be present on the first day of school.
I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Ooh, but that's how I feel.
Baby, I ain't playing by your
I'm
rules.
sorry, Miss Jackson. Ooh, but that's how I feel.
Yeah, I like that.
Why you always in the mood?
It's the sticks. It is caught and hung on to by 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here is Daniel Smith.
What is going on in New York Jet and Jet fans everywhere? I'm not rocking my Jet stuff. I'm moving tomorrow, so I got some green broccolis in here for you guys to represent. So everything's pretty much packed, but I am here. I didn't want to miss it. I wanted to continue to do the show on Thursday night, not change things up, so we get some Jet content for you. And since the last time we spoke, a lot of things have happened in Jets Nation. You know, we did the Jets Guru draft special. As you know, Mr. Zach Wilson was taken with our first pick, which was expected across the board pretty much by most people at this point. You know, when Adam Schefter says something, it happens usually. He texted Zach Wilson pretty much right after his pro day and was like, you know, welcome to New York. The Jets are pretty adamant about who they wanted, and they didn't really hide it too much, you know, either. It was kind of one of those things where just boom, 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 like it just, you see the smiles on their faces. They were all there. And I think, you know, it's an exciting time for Jet fans, and for some Jet fans, they're really scared, right? Because they've seen this pony, this dance, this show before. But hey, listen, you know, Mark Sanchez didn't really work out, but we did go on a good run there, and I wouldn't trade that run for anything. That was some great times in Jets history. And, you know, with Sam Darnold didn't work out. But the one main difference between when we drafted Sam Darnold and drafting Zach Wilson, the biggest difference is, to me, is one, the talent that he's walking into. It's a way better situation. But more so than even the talent, the scheme and the actual staff that is there. Everyone from the top down is there because the other person next to them wanted them there. There isn't, this person got hired at this time, this is a holdover from a different regime, blah, 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 all this nonsense back and forth. Everyone that's in the building is there because the top guys wanted them there. And for the first time in a long time, and this didn't happen also when Sam Darnold was here, the GM is making the decisions. And the GM happens to be a football guy with his ear to the street. He brought in another football guy who's a tape guy in Saleh, brings in another tape system guy in LaFleur. And so they're really bringing in as much as they can. If Zach Wilson happens to fail here in New York, I don't really think, at least in the beginning portion here, It's not going to be because the Jets didn't put forth an effort to protect their quarterback. They're giving Zach Wilson every opportunity to succeed his rookie year. Now, by succeeding, what I mean is not going out there and throwing for 50 touchdowns, winning the Super Bowl. We have to have realistic expectations. Now, I put a poll up on Live Rounds, and I said, one of the things I said, what is likely to happen? And one of the things I put on there was Zach Wilson winning Rookie of the Year. Can you see that happening? Absolutely. He has the talent to do so. He has the ability to do so. He has the weapons, I think, to do so. Will he? I don't know. You don't have to be on a good team to necessarily be Rookie of the Year. We know Mr. Justin Herbert, what he was able to do and what Joe Burrows was doing before he got hurt. And so it doesn't have to be that way. Now, I'm not saying he's going to jump into that type of discussion right away, but I'm saying is that you have an opportunity here to start over and start clean and start with weapons, specifically on the offense. And someone said to me, well, Dan, as many guys they drafted on the offensive side of the football, that's kind of like what they did on the defense, isn't it? And you wind up neglecting one side of the football. I said, I don't care. I said, this has been a defensive football team for how long? And you just drafted a kid, number 2. Okay, number 2, you just drafted a kid. You do everything in your power to protect him. And I think going out there, drafting this kid, setting the tone, he fits the offense. And that's one thing I like. That's another point, is that when Darnold came in, the offenses that he walked in weren't necessarily fit for the type of ability. The play calling style wasn't exactly the fit for Sam Darnold. You know, if you have a quarterback that's already going to take risks and throw the ball in places where they shouldn't, at least utilize his athletic ability in the process as well. That's something the old staff could not do or utilize, which I think will be utilized correctly. Remember, Zach Wilson ran for 10 touchdowns. 10 touchdowns. He has the ability to go out there and be able to move around with his legs and do some things. Now, obviously, I'd rather have him moving from the pocket, but it's part of today's game, and he's one of those athletes that can do it. I think having a good rotation of backs, having a good rotation of receivers. People said, hey, Dan, they drafted Elijah Moore. Like, oh, they're probably going to cut Crowder now. Not necessarily. That's not the reports that are coming out, at least initially, is that he's not there to replace Crowder. He is there to be the home run hitter. He's there to be the guy that they're going to do certain plays for it to open up the field, because you already have Keelan Cole in the slot. You already have Crowder in the slot. You have other guys in rotation in the slot. You already have guys on the outside, so you're going to mix and match. I'd say the comparison would be what Juju Smith-Schuster was doing for Pittsburgh, where he was moving around. Now, last year he was more in the slot, but I think for the majority of his career, it was like a 60-40 split, 60-30 split, something like that, inside, outside. I think that's probably where Moore is going to work. And if he could take that speed, that 4.34 speed, and be somewhat of a home run hitter for this team, which I think he can be, well, then you could keep Crowder. And then I think having someone that's professional like Crowder in the slot, we've seen how devastating it could be when receivers get taken out and how the offense could just be stagnant. Imagine a rookie quarterback learning a new offense and living in a new city and all this kind of stuff that's going on. And all of a sudden his wide receivers are injured, his tight ends are injured, his offensive linemen are injured. So I think having a big room of receivers where there's rotation, and not to mention Crowder's deal, it ends at the end of this year. So it's only 1 year. The Jets can absorb that contract, no problem this year. It doesn't affect any of their rookie, undrafted, or camp cuts that are going to happen over the course of the season. So I think that, saying just Crowder's gone, I think is just a mistake. I'd much rather have Crowder in the slot, Davis outside, Mims outside, and then having Moore being moved all over the field where we want him to be, and have Keelan Cole's insurance, another guy. And we don't know how LaFleur is going to run this offense and how he's going to pair his inside slot. He could have 2 slots on the inside on either side of the field crossing each other. So you don't know how wide he's going to go with his receiving packages. You want to be able to disguise things. If Crowder's automatically in the slot, okay, well, that's where the ball is going to go if Crowder has the ball most likely. Well, maybe if you're rotating guys, mixing them in and out, it's about disguise. That's where the play action comes into play, and that's why in a Shanahan LaFleur system, you're going to have to be able to run the football, because everything is based off of that, protecting the quarterback, play action, pre-snap movement. All these different things are going to be very important to the type of offense that they run, and that's why you always see them have a good rotation of backs, because it's important. It keeps the defense off balance. And doing that, John Benton bringing over that wide zone blocking system where your responsibilities just aren't north-south, but they're also left to right as well. And I think the Jets going, Krista, and trading up, and people say they gave up a lot. They gave up 2 third-round picks. To me, man, I mean, come on, man.
Oh my
Let's
God.
stop now. I mean, you have 9 picks. Yeah, 9 picks next year, 10 picks this year, whatever. I mean, how many picks do you want? I mean, how many picks are we talking about here?
For real.
I mean, to go up and get a guy like Vera Tucker, who was projected to be the best guard prospect in the draft, moving, and also gives you versatility where if Fant doesn't work out, I mean, he might want to move outside again, and you can move him to the right side. All of a sudden, all those people that were talking about the Jets drafting Penei Sewell all high because they wanted to replace Fant, even though Fant, I think, is good enough out there. There's your replacement. There's your possible replacement long term. He's projected to be better at the guard position, but if you move him at right tackle in an emergency situation, or if it's just not cutting it out there and you have better prospects inside, you can move him out there. And he wouldn't probably complain because if I'm not mistaken, right tackle money, is it better than guard money? I'm not really sure. I'd have to look that up. But either way, it gives you versatility on the inside. And he is the type of guard that is going to be able to give you versatility in the second level. Again, not just north-south, but left and right. And that's the type of offensive line that they're trying to build here. Another reason why I think they kept Fant, which I think is underrated, is because Fant is very athletic. Let's not forget what they did in Seattle with George Fant. They moved him to tight end in certain packages. He's a left tackle, moved to right tackle. They played him at tight end. So, I mean, so a guy athletic like that on the right side, it gives you some options to be able to do some things. And I think ultimately that's why they decided to hold on to Fant and not push the right side. I mean, you look at Fant's play, he had no protection on the left-hand side whatsoever. And the Jets were awful, and Sam Darnold was awful, and the play calling was awful, and they had no chance to gel. And I still think he was better than anybody else on the offensive line besides Becton. And so I just think looking at it and looking at how it's playing out, I like it. You're getting a bunch of guys who are athletic. You're getting a bunch of guys who are strong but can also move into the second level. And that's going to be very important for this offense. And I just love it. I just love what the Jets are putting together on paper. Now, I'm not going to gas it up. I'm not going to get crazy and start saying they're going to win 11, 12 games, something like that. I don't think we're going to get into those types of numbers right away. But I'm just not going to limit what Zach Wilson can do. I really believe in the skill set that this kid has. And I know that his mom is getting more attention right now than he is. Absolutely beautiful woman, and she seems very spirited as well. But come on, man, let the lady breathe a little bit, right? Ask her some weird questions and talk to her about something because you should see some of the responses. But they're so excited to be New York Jets. I mean, I can't stress it enough. When I was growing up, I always remember people when they talked about the New York Jets. There's always like this, with draft picks and stuff. He's very excited to be a New York Jet. His parents, his family, everybody was really happy for him to be there. And I think that was good for Jet fans to see. There was no hesitancy on him or his family's part in embracing New York, which is a big challenge from, coming from a small place in Utah or whatever and moving here to New York. And it's going to be a really big jump. But at the same time, I think it was smart of Zach Wilson to go out there and ask Chad Pennington, Mark Sanchez, and some of the other former Jet quarterbacks, communicating with them and just kind of picking their brains on New York. That tells me this is a guy that thinks ahead. And I was watching an interview with Zach Wilson. He was saying how I think he has, ADHD or something like that. And he just hyper focuses on things a lot. And it's something that he had to deal with and had to channel and use for the betterment of himself. And I think those are some of the things that I think are going to really leave a mark. You go out of your way to contact these former quarterbacks to get a sense of where you're going to be. I really just love the draft as a whole. I love the fact that the Jets went out and drafted somebody at least on his offensive line that he's comfortable with. Even if he doesn't make the team long term, it's just nice to have a guy that you're familiar with when you first come in. Elijah Moore, super exciting. Krista, out of all these draft picks, give me your top 2 that you feel are your favorites out of the draft that Joe was able to snag.
For me, besides Zach Wilson, I really like Elijah Moore. I know with that pick, I said there's about like 10 or 15 players I would have been happy with in that pick. I even talked about possibly getting an offensive lineman to shore the offensive line. But when you have a guy like Elijah Moore, and you've seen what he did at Ole Miss, the speedness that he brings to this offense, you really can't pass a guy like that up. And looking at his tape, I really got surprised that the Giants passed this kid up and drafted Tony over him. Because Elijah Moore is a guy that could play inside, outside. He's a very strong receiver if you watch him at Ole Miss. And I really feel like he fits this West Coast offense pretty well, the LaFleur type offense. And you made a good point. Even if we have two slot receivers, which I was thinking myself, I think it's good to keep a guy like Jamison Crowder in because he knows the offense very well. You see what he can do. He's also a chain mover, and Elijah Moore is also a chain mover himself. And I think both of them would be great for this offense. And Elijah Moore also gives you insurance because, like you also mentioned, Jamison Crowder's on his last year of his deal, and you won't have to worry about finding a guy for Jamison Crowder because you already drafted a guy with Elijah Moore to take the spot once his contract is due and done with. So you have Elijah Moore there, and it's just an exciting pick. I know like the Jets in second round picks, a lot of people talk about it, but I feel really good about Elijah Moore. I like what he's done with Ole Miss. If you look at Pro Football Focus, you see all the stats. He's in the top there with completions, how good his hands are. This guy has very good hands. You see Odell Beckham praising him, and if you watch the video of AJ Brown, his former teammate, you see how happy he is. He's like, I'm rocking with the Jets. That's my guy. You see how happy he is. So you see all the love that he's getting from all these former players. Like that shows the kind of guy that he is and the kind of player he is to garner that much respect and already into the league. And he hasn't even caught his first touchdown. So that's kind of amazing that we're already getting a player like him. And I just feel really good about that pick, even though a lot of people wanted to go defense. I think Joe Douglas made the right call to go and get Elijah Moore. Now, for me, I really like Michael Carter a lot. I know the running back room. I know there's a lot of talk about like Michael P. Ryan. And I'm talking about the running back, Michael Carter, because I know there's two Michael Carters. Don't get confused with the other Michael Carter. I'm sure he's good too, but I'm just really excited about the running back Michael Carter because when I look at his tape, that guy's really fast. He's explosive. I think he brings so much into this offense. And I think he'd be a good complement to Ty Johnson and what Josh Adams is too. I think he just fits this offense. I know we have LaMichael P. Ryan. It's going to be a very interesting battle at the running back position. And I think he brings that intensity. I think he brings that fire that we need. And I know there was a lot of talk. I thought myself, I was kind of surprised we did draft a running back, but I'm glad that we did because we do need that running back. Taven Coleman's always hurt, and I think he's a guy that you could heavily rely on. I really like Michael Carter. He's very explosive, very smooth in his running, and I think he's a great insurance policy for Zach Wilson. And he just adds so much to this running back room. He adds more talent, more speed, and I'm just very excited that Joe Douglas went the route to go offense back to back to back because I know on Twitter and I know a lot of these beat reporters, you have the Brian Costellos, you have the Rich Cimini saying, oh my gosh, why are the Jets going offense like we haven't been the worst ranking offense the past few years under Adam Gase? Like, it's just like it's great to see a GM finally take a hold and trying to build around a rookie quarterback. And I like those two picks. That I know outside of the Alavera Tucker and outside of Zach Wilson, I have to say those two picks are my favorite because they bring so much to this offense. And I got to give love to our offense because our offense was god awful. And I think these two are going to make this offense so much better and help Zach Wilson.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's hard to really pick my favorite one. The first four picks of the Jets, in my opinion, are just really, really good. Obviously Zach Wilson's going to be my first choice. I mean, the opportunity here once again for the Jets to hit, and hopefully they hit. And, a lot of these guys are talented, and it's half and half. Sometimes it's where you go and who is there. And sometimes it's, the player just isn't ready for the NFL caliber that's there. I think when you look at the Jets, the reason why I'm so excited is because they draft a guy like Vera Tucker. And so now you look at that left side. Now Zach doesn't have to worry about his blind side, like Darnold or anybody else that would have been here beforehand. It just, he could focus on the play ahead and he could see what's in front of him. So, you could see what's in front of you as you play because you have confidence on the backside that they're going to be able to get you. And this is going to alleviate pressure on McGovern at center as well and allow him to be able to focus and not worry about what's on the left and right of him constantly, because everybody's struggling on the line. So having that left side of the offensive line locked in is only going to make our quarterback better, make him learn faster, let him get into a rhythm. And I just believe that Vera Tucker, to me, was just an absolute wonderful pick because from there, it's just off to the races and finishing this offensive line. Maybe you hit with a guy like Cameron Clark and you're just waiting for him to get on the field this year. And, there's some other guys you brought in Hogue and, we'll see what happens. And on the defensive side of the ball, I think people have to remember with this. And let's be honest with ourselves here because people were freaking out when they saw safety. And people are like, what the hell is going on? Are they not signing Marcus May long term? You got to slow down a little bit. You got to look at the draft pick and understand what's going on. Okay, the guys that they brought in to play, they're not your typical proto safeties that you're going to see playing with the Jets. That's just not how they went about their draft class. Like they are very particular about how their outside linebackers are going to play. And they want guys who are athletic but could still cover. And a lot of times when you get outside linebackers, you'll get them, they're fast, but they have like a little too much clunky size. The NFL is starting to change and it's starting to get better. And it starts with guys like Jamie Sherwood. It starts with guys, I don't want to butcher the name here, but Hamza Nasruddin. I think I said that right. Guys like that are hybrid players where and you saw this with Jamal Adams in a sense, right? Where you've already seen this happen where Jamal Adams is basically a small linebacker. He's just a smaller linebacker. That's all he really is. And these are what these guys are going to play. These are guys that are going to play on the outside. They have better than outside linebacking coverage skills at the safety position, but they're not good enough to play coverage, to play center field type of safeties. So you take their athletic ability, you take their length, you put them at outside linebacker, you ask them, to do the same things that you would almost see that they would do as a safety. You come up and you hit, you stop the run if you see it on the outside, you cover your responsibility in the slot if it gets loose here. I mean, these are things that, and you're playing the zone. And so it should make it a little bit easier as far as your responsibilities. And I think that when they were looking at the draft and they were looking at how they were going to structure this team, you can't fix every position in one draft with a whole new staff and guys you want to bring in. So you try to maximize what you have. And I think by drafting guys like Sherwood and Nasruddin, you're giving yourself an opportunity to hit on some later round picks that can save you some money in the future moving into next season. If you hit on one of these guys where they could be good rotational pieces, you don't have to dump so much money into your outside linebacking position next year, and you can use it somewhere else, maybe like corner, because even if you bring in a guy like Richard Sherman, right? Sherman, is probably here for a year, maybe two if he was to come at best, most likely a year. So you're really counting on the young guys taking a step up, but you still might need to bring a veteran in. You might have to pay for one. Listen, we don't know how this is going to go. This could go awful, which I don't think it's going to. I would almost bet on that. But it's still a rookie season and it's still a rebuild. But there's an opportunity here if the Jets, let's say the Jets go out there and they win 7 games. May I press and even say 8 games? I'm just throwing it out there. Ultimately, I think they win 6 games this year. I picked them. I think they win 6. I picked them for 7. I think the top of the line would be 8 and some kind of coming off a 2-win season in that division in this conference. And we still don't know where Aaron Rodgers is going to wind up being when this is all said and done. That would be wonderful. And that means that Zach is probably playing really good football if we're winning that many games, considering where we came from just a year before. And so really what I'm looking for Zach is I just want him I want to see some of that magic ability that we saw, those types of throws, those quick twitch throws, that flick of the wrist where he could just put the ball up, because I like this wide receiving core, Krista, a lot. And you know what? And I like this team for the running game. That's what I'm saying. Joe is working on it. you got guys like Mims who are kind of like tall and wiry, and you got Corey Davis who's just kind of like a solid dude, and he already played in a system where they run the ball a hell of a lot, and so he's ready for that type of life. And Crowder, he's a slot receiver, so whatever, but he's tough as nails too.
Yeah.
But just having the left side locked down, and let's say you put Corey Davis on the left side with Becton and Vera Tucker on that left side. I mean, you've got some players that can block over there. You know what I mean? And like, you start running the ball to the left side, play action to the left side, and then using Zach Wilson's athletic ability to the right as he rolls out, and you have Crowder and Elijah Moore streaking over the middle of the field, or Corey Davis or Moore's going out for, a deep fly, and he rolls out and dumps it 50 yards down the field. These are possibilities. This is the new NFL. I'm so excited to see LaFleur, and I'm excited to see all the brain tricks and all like the little things he's going to be doing to expose the defense, because that's what all that stuff for, all that pre-snap movement. It's just to discover what the defense wants to do, because then the defense has to make an adjustment if you expose them. And then once they make their adjustment, then it's like, okay, now I can really see what's happening here. So I just really believe that they've put together a good crop of people here, and I'm super excited. So, I mean, I would go Vera Tucker Zach Wilson first, Vera Tucker second. Those would be my favorite two picks, but I can't complain about Michael Carter, because here's the thing, guys. You got a running back who I think who was it for Georgia a few years back? Wasn't
Sony
it
Michel?
Sony Michel, and who was the other one that was there with him?
Oh, Chubb from the Cleveland Browns.
Chubb. So Sony Michel's kind of been underrated because he's over there with the Patriots and they use him in such a fashion, but he's a good player, and you got Chubb, obviously he's a really good player.
Yeah.
But they split carries there, and it's interesting because I think that Carter wasn't getting as much love, and I don't understand why he wasn't and why he dropped so far in this draft, in my opinion. I know there was other running backs, but you look at this guy. This is a guy who's gotten better every single year since his freshman year, not only in the yards, but the average. I mean, this is a guy that went from 5.8 to 7.1 to 8.0 yards per carry. You're talking about a guy that catches 25 balls, so you can catch 30 out of the backfield for you. You're talking about 10 yards a catch. You're talking about 1,500 yards from scrimmage. You're talking about 1,245 yards on the ground on 156 touches, 9 touchdowns. Okay, this is a guy who had to split carries with Javonte Williams, who also put up big numbers. So this just tells you the type of ability he has. And one of the things that's really important about Michael Carter is that he's already split carries in college, so he already has that mentality of what it takes to be that, because it's different. It's not the same as being a featured back where you're getting most of the touches and you're in rhythm pretty much the whole game. There might be some times where you just don't even touch the football. There might be a time where maybe Coleman, maybe Perrine, maybe Johnson, they're running the ball very, very well, and maybe there's just not a room for Carter. How does he handle that? How does he stay loose? How mentally does he prepare to stay in rhythm and stay focused? Well, he's already done that with Javonte Williams in North Carolina and still put up massive numbers. So him coming into this LaFleur system, running the football, isn't going to be something that's going to be hard for him. And I think when you're making a decision on picking a running back there, I think that you're like, this is a home run. You get a guy who, if Javonte Williams isn't there, you're talking about Michael Carter probably being a first round or a second round pick right next to Najee and Etienne and all those guys if Javonte Williams isn't there, because he's getting a more touches. You're talking about a guy that probably runs for 1,600 yards if Javonte Williams isn't there. You're talking about a guy who probably catches 40 balls for 400 and something yards. He probably has 15, 16 touchdowns in that season. So that's the type of production you're bringing in the fourth round. I honestly think that is an absolute home run, and it might be the steal of the draft when we actually find out the value and what he actually brings to the table. Now, with Elijah Moore, I mean, obviously, your boy Mel Kiper, he had to eat a lot, right? Because he was talking a lot of crap about the New York Jets, and so was everybody else, which is super annoying because, I mean, nobody wanted to talk about Joe Douglas. Nobody wanted to talk about Robert Saleh. Well, nobody wanted to talk about LaFleur. Nobody wanted to talk about the fact that Woody Johnson and company came out and said that Joe Douglas is picking these guys. Anytime Stephen A. Smith, and I love him, or any of these guys, all these people on TV that do a great job at what they do, but they never, Shannon Sharp, all these guys, they don't watch the Jets like we watch the Jets. And I know it sounds weird. You're like, they're professionals. but they can't watch and listen to every single thing that's about the Jets when they got to cover the Giants and the 49ers and baseball and hockey and all this other stuff. I think that the argument needs to be made. It needs to be made where it's like, well, hold on a minute. The Jets, after this horrible season, almost immediately started tearing down all of the things that set them up for failure in the past. And I think you have to give them credit for that. And everybody is saying that Saleh is an awesome hire. Everyone's saying that LaFleur is a mind that's going to be searched for in the future. Everyone says that Joe Douglas coming up was an inspiring thing. Well, then if they're bringing in these guys, how come we don't talk about them and what their effect is going to be on this organization? We saw the change in which this team performed under Rex Ryan, the type of attitude and fight that he gave to this team, which was desperately needed after that lost season with Brett Favre. And I think this is another real sharp of example. All gas, no brakes, this type of attitude that he's coming. He's going to change his team. There's going to be a different attitude about this New York Jets team that I think is going to be absolutely undeniable. This is a different football team. They have a whole new staff, except for one guy or something like that. I think this is different, Krista. You can't say this is the same organization as it was last year.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Ever since Woody Johnson came out and said, hey, I'm going to give the power to Joe Douglas to make his moves and let Saleh pick his coaching staff, that has a whole new different feel. Because when we talked on Jets Guru, the one thing we were concerned about doing this rebuild is if Woody Johnson is going to back off and let Joe Douglas do his thing and so on, and let Robert Saleh pick up his coaching staff. And so far, he's been keeping to his word, and you just see the change of the organization. Like, we're actually being run as an actual organization, which is a big huge for the New York Jets, because that hasn't been done in ever, and that's something that we as fans have talked about. We talked about a Jets Guru that needed to be done, and it's being done. You have a new sense of feel. And even with the draft, you saw that you don't have no controversy. You don't have to hear, oh, Mike McCagan locked out his scouts, or Adam Gase and Mike McCagan had a huge fight. You don't hear those controversies because everyone's on the same page, because the coaching staff, this is who everyone wanted. It's not like years prior when we wanted to hire Matt Rule and the Jets didn't want him to pick his own coaching staff. They wanted to stick Greg Williams on him and other coaches. And Matt Rule's like, listen, I'm not doing that. I'm picking my coaching staff. And he kind of bounced. And this is what needed to be done. Because if you do that, you're going to turn down a lot of potentially good hires. And that's why I was so glad that Woody Johnson did what he did, and he stuck away from the football minds. But yeah, I'm very happy with what happened, because you don't hear no leaks. Everyone's on the same page. We have good football minds running in the front office for once. We don't have anyone butting in. And even with the draft, like, you see them making good decisions. Like, there hasn't been a pick where I'm like, wait, why did we overdraft this guy, or why did we pick this dude? I'm actually very excited for once as a fan about this draft. I feel good. Like, these picks make sense to me. Like you mentioned, I know in the end everyone was talking about how we picked all primarily safeties, but they're not safeties. These are versatile players that could play multiple roles in a Robert Saleh's defense. And I think a lot of people look at the position and they just think, oh, he's a safety. But no, you got to read more into the guy. This guy can play a linebacker. This guy can contribute so much more than just a safety. And I just really like the moves. And for the Alavera Tucker, I don't think two third-round picks was a lot to go get him for me personally. Like, for me, I'd rather have quality over quantity. I don't want another John Izek draft or a Mike McCagan pick where we're either we're stockpiling picks and we're just picking a bunch of nobodies that's out of the league after a year or two, or we actually use all 12 draft picks and half of them don't even make the roster. If you're telling me I can get quality guys that can contribute, I'd sign up for it. And I like the Alavera Tucker pick, because to me that shows that Joe Douglas is an aggressive GM. And that's what I want to see. I want a guy that's not afraid to go and get his guy, and he's sure that this guy can be a good fit in this team. That's what I like to see, because I did not see that from Mike McCagan. I saw that from Tannenbaum, but he flamed out and burned out, unfortunately, in this. But with Joe Douglas to Alavera Tucker, he's a very, very good fit. I would give 2 third-rounders any day for a guy to go. And you're telling me
Sure.
all I needed was 2 third-rounders, and I didn't have to give up pick 34. That's a W for the New York Jets, and we didn't even have to give a future first-rounder from. We still have that future first-rounder from the Jamal Adams picks to play around with. And this is a quality guy that could improve our offensive line, which has been so bad. And if you were complaining about the offensive line like me, about when you saw that offensive line what Sam Darnold had to deal with when he was seeing ghosts, don't go here and type and complain about the Alavera Tucker, because quite frankly, I don't want to hear it, because we're all saying that this offensive line needs to be fixed. We have Becton, we have Alavera Tucker. This is a good start of building the offensive lineman and helping Zach Wilson moving forward. And like you mentioned, he's a very versatile offensive lineman. He's not just a guard. And I think a lot of people get caught up with positions too, and they think that he's just a guard, and that's a big problem, because he's not just a guard. If you watch him in college, he moves around all over the place, and we need a guard in this type of offense too. It would help Zach Wilson, and it's going to fit this offensive line as well. And really like the Zach Wilson pick. Obviously, he has that swag to him. He fits the offense very, very. Yeah, sorry, I've been butchering that name. I'm gonna call him Barry Tucker. I've been calling him Sunburn Relief. I'm sorry. He might be. You know what? Sorry. I'm gonna call him Barry Tucker. AVT. Sorry. Yep. Yeah. Zach Wilson, can't butcher that name. Thank you for calling me out. If you guys can give me the pronunciation for the rest of the rookies' names, that would be helpful.
Nazarel Dean.
I'm very scared. I'm gonna butcher that so badly that I'm trying to avoid it, and I feel so uneducated saying the guy from Florida State, Nazardine. Yes, he could have been a first-round pick. I know he has that swag. He has that chip on the shoulder. Nazardine, I'm learning, guys. Don't knock me too hard.
Yeah, well, it is what it is, and it's tough. You'll get it. We'll all get it. There's so many names. You're trying to remember all these names before the draft, and these guys get drafted. It gets tough sometimes. But no, I'm with you on that. I think when you look at this roster, they're drafting for the scheme. They're signing free agents for the scheme. So yeah, if they didn't go out and draft a prototypical outside linebacker, it's because that's not what they want on their defense. And I think that's really important to understand. These are the types of players that Saleh requires to run his defense. So I wasn't surprised to see him take safeties and convert them into outside linebackers. They have experience, they have range, and they're just those hybrid type of players. You're just seeing it more and more happening. You're seeing it all over the field. It's not just at the outside linebacker position. You're seeing guys that are versatile, because you need to be interchangeable sometimes in these defenses. You saw what Greg Williams was able to do and how he was able to run multiple packages, do different things. Well, if you have more players who could fit different packages, you're going to play more. You're just going to play more football when you're more versatile. And so these guys learning how to do different things is not a bad thing. And I think for these young guys, if you hit on them, you hit on them. If you don't, you got a whole nother draft next year. And how many first-round picks do the Jets have next year? 2, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, so if you really needed to fix the offensive line and get a center, another guard, another tackle, you can go out and do that, And if you want to go out and get 2 corners next year, you go out and do that. And you still have your mid-rounders and all this other stuff. And so that's why you have to look at what the Jets were able to do. They were able to stand pat on their values and what they wanted. And we keep talking about that, the value system of where players are. You look at a guy like Jamal Adams. For Jet fans, not signing Jamal Adams is the worst thing in the world because we've never had anything before. But when you look at the value of what a safety brings to a team, how much is that safety worth? Is overpaying him worth that? When you do that, you overpay the safety, then you're going to have to overpay the quarterback. You have to overpay the running back and the receiver and this and that. And all that money adds up on the back end, and they're called bad deals. And when you get enough bad deals, you're not able to sign free agents to help your team currently when you're building it, especially when you bring in a new regime. And he's like, hey, I bring in a new coach. I want him to be able to get as many of his guys as possible right from day one. Well, if you're tied up in bad contracts all over up and down the lineup, it's going to make it that much harder for you to get that started. You're talking about the second going into the third year before you really rotate this team into the image of your new coach. And so I believe that the way the Jets are doing it, and I have to give Mac some credit, at least on the financial parts of the deals that he did put together, because he didn't really kill the Jets with any of his deals. And he actually saved the Jets a lot of money, which actually turned into and rolled into what we have now as the contracts broke down. And I think Joe Douglas kind of took it to the next level, basically telling some of these players that, like, he's not going to overpay for a safety. And it worked out, because he sent that safety to Seattle, which was a way better team than the Jets. And yeah, he had a good season, but I mean, he's not a safety. He's a hybrid linebacker. You would have overpaid for him. He would have been the vocal piece of your team when I really think it should be the quarterback, in my personal opinion, or somebody else, not the safety. That's just my personal opinion. But I believe that he just wasn't worth the cheddar, and it proved it. And I think the 2 first-rounders or the 3 first-rounders that you wind up getting from people like this is way worth it. And I understand what signing a Jamal Adams is like for a team. He's your franchise piece. You drafted him high. He's your spokesperson basically for the team. But you got to make the hard decisions. You can't make homer picks all the time. That will get you burnt. And that's why you see coaches in this league, they let go of guys. You're like, wow, I can't believe it. And then they fall apart a year or two later, and you're like, oh, wow, you let them go right when you're supposed to. And it's like, yeah, because they know what it's about. And, yeah, if it was up to them, they'd sign a guy, keep him on the team for 15 years. But this is a business first and foremost, and people's jobs are on the line. And so I believe – and Joe Douglas's job is on the line. So I believe that he was right in that. And now your team is looking better. It's looking on the up and up. I don't think free agents are going to be as scared to come here if you just have a competent season next year. And I think you're off on the running. And listen, the Jets are going to have the draft picks, the money, the staff, and the talent to get where they need to go. It is up to them to put it together and put a good product on the field, because I truly believe they're going to have everything they need to be a winner. I'm not saying they're going to go out and win the Super Bowl, but they have a chance to be a good team. They have a small nucleus with no expectations next year. And then you go into the second year and more picks and more money, and people are growing in the offense and in the defense, and there's going to be expectations on top of that. And you're going to have resources to be able to keep growing. They just got to hit it. They got to do it right. They got to coach these guys up. They got to make it easy for Zach. And I think it was important before we go here, guys, I think it was important that what it was either Joe Douglas or Saleh said to Zach Wilson when he said, we're going to make it easy for you. We're not going to have you come in here and have you be Joe Montana and try to save the New York Jets. That's not what it's going to be for you. And I think that's smart. That's a smart way to approach it, because Zach, that's what I loved about Mark Sanchez when he played with the Jets when they first drafted him, is it didn't seem like everything was about Mark, right? Like when you on the football field, there were other pieces that were way more important than Mark Sanchez at that time. The offensive line, the running game, it was just the defense. There was other pieces that were more important than Mark. All Mark had to do was not ruin it and just keep growing and stay on that track. And I think that's what coming into this year is what's going to be for Zach Wilson. I believe the scheme, the rotational running backs, the wide receivers, the offensive line on the left side, it's going to make it easier for him where he's not going to have to press and do everything like you saw Joe Burrows had to do right out the gate and what you had to see Justin Herbert do. Now, if he comes out and he puts up numbers like that, well, then the Jet fans are just going to be absolutely crazy for this guy for sure if he comes out there and puts up Rookie of the Year type numbers, which he does have the skill set to do so, which is why he was taken number 2 overall. And I think out of all the quarterbacks in the top that were drafted, the Jets are a nice place for a guy like Zach Wilson to stop at. I really, truly believe it. I really, truly believe they got a nice little setup going. I fear for Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. I really do. I don't know how it's going to turn out there. I really don't. With Urban Meyer there, I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what this Tim Tebow thing is going to turn into. And if that happens, what kind of circus that's going to be. I do like Justin Fields, and I do like him going to the Bears. I think they have a way better roster than people think. I just think that Mitchell Trubisky was just really awful. And then, you have some injuries here and there, and it just turns into just a complete mess. But the defensive pieces are still there, so I like where he went. I like with Trey Lance at San Francisco. That's a good spot. So the quarterbacks went to some good spots, but I think Zach Wilson went to a really good spot for him as a quarterback. I think this offense is digestible. I think that he's going to eat it up. All the reports say that this kid is a study master and that he just loves to get in there and just really analyze tape. And so I'm super excited to get this young man on board. I think he's going to be something special. I really do. I really, really do. And more importantly, I think the staff is going to be special. And I think they're going to do everything that's possible to get this team going. So listen, guys, I really appreciate all the support. You're amazing people. If you guys can't watch the show for some reason on Thursday nights, it might be tough or you miss it. Don't forget to check out our audio podcast on anywhere you listen to podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, just type Apple, anywhere you listen to podcasts, just go on there, type in Jets Guru. You can hear us talk. Also at Guru Jets on Twitter, if you're a Twitter head and you like to spend most of your time there. And we also have an Instagram page and a YouTube. So just type in Jets Guru on both of those and you can find us there too. So we're trying to do different things. We don't curse. We don't talk politics. We just talk Jets football and everything surrounding the New York Jets. And we want to make it in every single household, computer and phone that's available. And the only way we can get there is by you sharing. And so I really appreciate the support. You guys are amazing people. Some of the best fans in the world are Jet fans. They deal with more than a lot of fan bases do, and they still represent the green and white. And so I really appreciate it. You guys are amazing people, amazing fans, amazing consumers of the game. And so I appreciate your support, your knowledge, and be safe out there and take care of yourselves. We are out. Jets, 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 Jets. Peace.
Why you always in the mood?
I'm sorry, Miss Jackson.
I ain't tryna tell you what to do, but try to play it cool. Baby, I ain't playing by your rules.
I am for real.
Why you always in the mood?
I'm sorry, Miss Jackson.
I ain't tryna tell you what to do, but
Everything's cool.
baby, I ain't playing by your rules.
Never meant to make your daughter.
In the mood. Why you always in the mood?
Never meant to make. Yeah.
Sorry, Miss Jackson. I know I've been rude, but I miss the attraction. We a little toxic, but we got passion.
Yeah.
We a little toxic, and I got distracted. She showed a little ass, and I had to go cash in. Couldn't imagine sex out of this world, like we fucking on Saturn. If I'm on the ball, like I've been playing Madden, but she swallowed it all, and that's how it happened.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Ooh.